PK52, the Saturday morning meeting, phase 2 of the leasing seminar. I hope what we did the first week kind of broke it down for you. I got to tell you, when the customer doesn't understand a lease, that's when they say no. If they do understand a lease, then they're either going to say yes to the lease or yes to retail or financing the vehicle, paying cash. They're not going to leave. They're going to let you take care of their business. So I love that expertise you get by being able to explain something to somebody that really is very unfamiliar with leasing. If you've never leased before, then you've heard something, but you are very unfamiliar with it. So we're going to proceed on and overcome some myths about leasing. So stay tuned for part 2 of Leasing a Better Way, PK52, the Saturday morning meeting. I want to just ask your permission to read this to you real quick. Leasing is essential to the sales professional and the dealership. The following reasons are reasons to lease. Creation of TCV inventory. With a 2-year lease right now, we can bring some vehicles back in that still have a Toyota Care coupon on them, and we get these low mileage, great flip pieces. Now that TFS is doing some pre-owned leasing, it's kind of an interesting mix. It's retention of client base. If I sell somebody a car for 72 months, there's a great chance they never come back in. If I lease them a car for 24 months, you can tell me right now how many months it's going to be until they come back in. It's going to be in the neighborhood of that 24 months. It lets me guarantee the trade cycle. I know when I get to work with them again. TFS will subvent a lease or rebate inside of a lease, subvention, lowering the money factor or raising the residual in order to get us a Camry at $199 or a Corolla at $189 or a RAV4 at $189. That's really helped us over the last 10 years. Guaranteed future value. Toyota gives you the option to be able to sit there and go, I know what my vehicle is supposed to be worth at the end of 3 years. And if it's not worth that because market changed, I can walk away. Lower cost of maintenance, and I hate to even say this on camera, but if it's a 24-month lease and I don't exceed the miles, it could be 0 cost of maintenance. Can you imagine 10 years ago somebody would have told you you could drive a Toyota for 2 years and not spend a dime in the service department? Unbelievable. The list is too long to fully disclose, and in an introduction, still clients prefer to raise their payment and play equity roulette. I mean, they're taking a chance whether they have equity or not. This workshop will create a mathematical foundation for leasing and a solid financial disclosure at lease termination. Math is not emotional. My gosh, man, be emotional about the paint and the way the car drives, but math, 2 plus 2 is 4. And leasing is nothing but math. It's not emotional, it's just math. If the lease works, lease the car. All sales associates should master lease disclosures and techniques, working on it all of the time. Practice, practice, practice. If the math fits the situation, there's no confusion. Math is absolute. Say that in your mind. Math is absolute. Math is absolute. It either is or it isn't. Nobody can guess about it. Math is an absolute deal. Once a customer believes your math, car deal. In last week's episode of the Saturday morning meeting, we did a chart in front of you. At the end of that chart, there was 4 options, with the 5th option being extending the lease for up to 12 months with TFS. And I went pretty fast through that, but I wanted to give you this in this segment because it's actually written out. Equity. Before your lease expires, bring the vehicle to me. I'll have the used car manager place a value on the vehicle. Bring the used car manager right out to the car and look at the customer and say, this is what it's worth. If it's worth more than the guaranteed future value, some of you call it the residual, you have equity. Simply use that equity to buy down the payments on your next Toyota lease. You're actually trading the car in. Profit, before your lease expires, check online to see what similar vehicles are selling for, or call me. I'll tell you what we're running. We're selling the Camrys, the Corollas, the RAVs for. Run an ad, sell it to your neighbor, and keep the profit. So you can actually sell the vehicle. All you have to do is pay off the guaranteed future value of the residual, and then your state tax. Walk away. If the vehicle's changed, something's happened, it's been wrecked and repaired properly through the proper channels, through a bonded repair facility. If they messed up on it, then it kind of gives you a grandfather. Or market conditions change. Let's say gas prices go up to $5 again for some reason. Now the SUVs are losing money. You can physically walk away from the negative equity because you've protected yourself. And the last one is a love option. If you love the car and you say, hey, I want to keep it, you have an option. You can go ahead and keep it for another 6 months. You can keep it for 2 6-month intervals by extending the term so you can drive it for another year and still give it back. Or you can just buy it for what the residual of the guaranteed future value is. Go ahead and pay the sales tax. If you need to finance it, the cool thing about it is TFS will do it at new car rates for you, and you simply get a payment and drive away with the car. There is your options, and I gotta tell you, think about the options if you paid cash or you bought the car. The option is, it's worth what it's worth. Good luck. Okay, I wanted to give you one example today. Let me do this. I'm gonna give you an example right here. I think this will be a best overall example. This is a Camry. It's a 2015, so it was a year ago, so I don't want the managers in the dealership mad that I'm showing you any kind of secret that they may not let you see. But this is a 2015 Camry LE model 2532. The money down is $1,999. So, I mean, if anybody's educated, that's $2,000 down. MSRP is $23,795. In order to get to where we want to go on our advertised price, we're going to sell the vehicle for $22,433. So this is an example during the year for 2015, and this is the real math. Again, there's no emotion here, it's math. There's a rule of thumb, it'll fly in. Let me fly it in again. There's a rule of thumb. If the money factor on this 24-month lease is lower than 000 and then a number, or 4 zeros in a number, then you need to look at the lease. So I'm going to compare a 24-month lease versus a 60-month retail, and then I'm going to do a 72-month retail out there just to show you not to do it. The money factor. In this example, for this month during 2015, TFS put out a 0.0006 money factor, which is almost as low as you can go. Legally, you have to have a number, so the lowest you could possibly go is 4 zeros and a 1. 0% interest, you don't have a hard time calculating that. I've had customers ask me what their payment was, and I go, all you have to do is divide it equally by 60 months. They go, oh, is that how it works? This is a good time right here. And I added 4% over here to 72 months because you want a little meat if you extend the term. So what's my payment going to be? What has Toyota done for the last 10 years? Somehow during the year, magically, we get a 179, a 189, a 199 payment. This one, because of the money down, was bought down to 179. Over here, it was 343. There's your first problem right there. If the customer won't pay 343 a month at 0% with $2,000 down, then they're going to leave and go up the road and buy a Chrysler 200 or a Hyundai or a Ford or some other car because they're going to get their payment lower than this. That is a great payment for 60 months on a Camry. It's fantastic. It's just what it is. If you divide the math, that's what you get. At 4%, it's 322. That doesn't sound too good, extending another 12 months. But let's look at the whole deal. Let's don't make any snap decisions. I'm so stupid that what I did was, how much would it cost me to drive this car for 2 years? I know that doesn't cost me anything in maintenance because of Toyota Care, so all I have to do is multiply 179 times 2. That's $6,265. Just turn this off right now if that doesn't sound good. And at the end of 2 years, I just give it back? Absolutely. Over here, it would have cost me $12,348. I still don't own it. I still don't own it. Over here, it would have cost me $11,592. The guaranteed future value on this one, or the residual that Toyota posted on this particular lease on this particular month, was $14,200. Now the MSRP of this vehicle was almost $24,000. So they calculated from the MSRP. So it's almost $24,000. So you got to think about this. It's like a 60+% residual. So there's a great chance that the vehicle will not be worth this at the end, because what Toyota did to bump that payment down to $179 was raise the residual and lower the money factor. So the customer's probably not going to buy the car for this because it may be worth $12,500 or $13,000. Just keep that in mind. Over here, I still owe $82,32. So the great news right here is, if the car is only worth $82,32, at the end, I've got $12,000 worth of equity. 12,000, 8,000, 4 grand. So I look over here and I go, but the difference in these two payments is 6 grand. So to get 4 grand worth of equity, I have to pay 6 grand in extra payments? That's crazy. To buy the car out, I pay this, and I pay this, and I'm at $20,506. All of these are net of tax. I can't negotiate tax because every single state does tax different. So retail or lease deal doesn't have tax in it right now. So you're gonna have to add tax on all of these, and the tax is basically the same in majority of the states. But I can buy the car and own it for $20,506. Over here, I can buy the car for $20,580. That is $343 times 60. So really, it's a wash right here. But what I'm saying is, if the customer won't pay this, then you have no car deal. And if they lease it for the first 24 months and then pay it off, it's going to cost them the same. What's probably going to happen is they're going to come in here and look at this right here and go, you know what, let me go ahead and do another new one right here. Or $199 or $219 or whatever it is right now to get a car that's 2 years newer with new technology on it. Over here you can see that extending the term really doesn't do us any good. So there's the math. And you can break down the math and look at this math. Now, what I've done on this one right here is I've broken this down. So this right here, if you look at this, that's 24 payments left. So I did this at a 36-month term because that's when most people will trade. If you want to, back these two numbers out, take this times 24 and this times 36 and see where you are. So that's your homework assignment. Write those numbers down and back this out and make it apples to apples right here. But this is reality that most people are going to trade in a 36-month term. That's where they're going to be. Take a few minutes, back that down. Remember, this is going to take and change that right there, so they're really not going to have any equity if you change that back to 36 months. I would take every single lease program that Toyota does in any given month, and I would break it down this far. So when a customer asks you, should I lease or should I buy, you can sit there and go, you know what, I've already done the math. Here's where you would be. That's value as a salesperson. That concludes the second phase of the lease program for Saturday morning meeting, PK52. And the last and the third phase that I'll do, if you want more, then find me somewhere in the United States teaching a full day lease class, and we will get really down to the nitty-gritty of how the math works on a lease. But I think we ought to spend a moment on overcoming the objections. And the two ones that I'm going to focus on in the next section are going to be miles and wear and tear, because those are the things that seem to frighten the customer the most. See you next week, the Saturday morning meeting, PK52.